Relatively, wherever criminal activities take place, stern action will have to be taken. Yeah, the banning, as I told you earlier, RSS was banned thrice. Has it stopped them? That's why I'm saying that killings and retaliatory killings, that must end.
ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಅಶಾಂತಿ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಯ್ತಾ ಅದನ್ನ ಅವ್ರ ವಿರುದ್ಧ ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೊಂಡ್ರೆ ನಮ್ದೇನು ವಿರೋಧ ಇಲ್ಲ ನಂಬರ್ 1 ನಂಬರ್ 2 ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ RSSನವರು ಇವರೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಸಮಾಜದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಶಾಂತಿಯನ್ನ ಹಾಳು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ ಅವ್ರ ಮೇಲೂ ಕ್ರಮ ತಗೊಂಡು
अब ये तो गवर्नमेंट की पॉलिसी है बहरहाल हम तो इसको पसंद नहीं करते उन्होंने जो बैन लगाया है और भी पार्टियां हैं वो भी सब सियासी पार्टी है ये भी एक सियासी पार्टी थी लेकिन ये मुस्लिम कौम को
Well, that was the reaction coming in from Arif Masood. He is one of the leaders of the Congress party, and we have seen, especially in the state of Karnataka, the Congress party has had a very nuanced reaction to this entire matter. While they have said that if there is evidence against PFI, go ahead and prosecute them, they're also drawing a distinction. They're also caveating it in some way and saying that why haven't you taken action against the right-wing organization? In the midst of all of this, you have a leader from the Congress party, Congress MP and a member of All India Muslim Personal Law Board. Once again, the organization is very important here because a lot of Muslim organizations work within the community and have a huge grip and influence over the Muslim community in the country. PFI supposedly, at least in their propaganda, said that they were working for the Muslims and the welfare of the Muslims in this country. Well, clearly that was not the agenda according to the NIA and the top agencies which are investigating the matter right now. So when a member of an All India Muslim Personal Law Board says that yes, there is action, if there is evidence, go ahead and prosecute them, take action against them, it does in some ways set the tone and tenor, and you're unlikely to see more kind of any protests or any kind of communal clashes, which is one of the apprehension of the law enforcement agencies. There's some more breaking news coming in. Let's go to that. And the Enforcement Directorate has sought a 14-day remand of Sameer Mahindru. Multiple searches were conducted. We have enough material. That's what the agency is saying. The agency has also told the court that we want to proceed in this matter, and prima facie, there is enough material evidence on record to go ahead. The Enforcement Directorate has told that to the court of law. This is a matter which is being probed by the Enforcement Directorate, which is looking at multiple money trails and what kind of financial transactions have really happened. When a remand application of this nature is made before a court of law, you actually have to substantiate what exactly is the kind of evidence that you have on record. And all of this matter, as we told you earlier, is related to the liquor gate scam, the Delhi excise policy scam. Ananya with us on the broadcast. Ananya, tell us more.
Well, the hearing is still continuing and the defense Advocate Dhruv Gupta is appearing for Sameer Mahindru and constantly opposing the 14 days police custody remand that the Enforcement Directorate is seeking. In fact, the Enforcement Directorate has given out submissions before the court that it had conducted multiple raids and it had ample amount of evidence, in fact, to proceed on with this case and to arrest Sameer Mahindru. And in fact, various submissions have been made. The court also put forth certain questions about the proceeds of crime and how the amount has been reached down to, which the ED officials are actually had explained to the court that the same was given out by the excise department. And in fact, now the court is currently hearing the submissions of the defense, wherein the defense is constantly arguing that the arrest is not justified at all. He had cooperated and recorded statement for more than 6 times, and in fact has been appearing before the Enforcement Directorate. In fact, they've also the question that he was called for questioning last evening, but then was arrested in fact today morning. So why such a long gap for arrest? So these judgments are also being cited, whether we talk of.
And Ananya, Mahindru is the managing director of a company called Indo Spirits. Now, the apprehension was he's been booked under Prevention of Money Laundering Act. The apprehension is that he is allegedly worked with a certain kind of a nexus to launder some money, and the proceeds of crime were allegedly benefited by certain officials as well. Other than him, in this particular case, and I'm talking about the ECIR of the Enforcement Directorate, are there other accused as well?
So there are many accused in this particular case, but Sameer Mahindru is supposedly the first arrest that's been made by the Enforcement Directorate into this particular case. And we have to also remember at this point of time that a lot of liquor dealers are being, in fact, those who were associated with the liquor business have been named by the Enforcement Directorate into its ECIR, and they are under the scanner of the agency. Sameer Mahindru has been arrested. He's the owner of Indo Spirits, and a lot of questions were also raised as to how the liquor license was given to him at a certain price. So this is the argument of the Enforcement Directorate, that there were some irregularities in the liquor policy and this license should not have gone to him. So that is the reason why the probe is currently underway, and the Enforcement Directorate had given out sort of 14-day police custody remand to question and with Sameer Mahindru into this particular case. So we'll have to wait and watch as to what the court has to say at the end of it.
Well, these cases are linked, and as we just told you, Ananya was also reporting that another accused in this case, Nair, was arrested, who was a close aide of Manish Sisodia, and both of these individuals are being probed under that same ECIR right now. Let's listen into Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal. He had something to say about the scam.
जिसने कर्नाटका में 175 से ज्यादा केसेस.
We'll try and get you that reaction of the Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal, but we have seen the kind of stand that the Aam Aadmi Party has adopted on this entire issue. They have said that this is a controversy out of nothing. In fact, the Delhi government came forward and defended its liquor policy and said it was the best in the country and it only had to be scrapped because there was a controversy which was being created around it. Manish Sisodia has openly dared the union government and the central agencies and said that if you found something against me, arrest me. This entire case is an example as to how the Delhi government and the union government, the Aam Aadmi Party versus the BJP, have been locked in a bitter war of words on this entire issue. Well, with that, it's a wrap from my side on this edition of CNN News 18. Ridhima takes it forward.
This is big, ladies and gentlemen. Just as the ban looked imminent, the ban has happened. The PFI, Popular Front of India, and its affiliate organizations like the PFI, All India Imam Council, Rehab India Foundation, National Women's Front have all been declared as unlawful associations under the UAPA.
It speaks about how proscribed organizations like JLP, which are a terror organization, very recently in Bhopal, we've seen it conspiring against India, and the charge is that PFI was colluding with organizations like this, and that is one of the key reasons why finally under UAPA section 3 and 4, the decision to declare it unlawful and its affiliates have been taken.
Good evening, you're watching The Nation at 5 here at CNN News 18. I'm Ridhima Bhatnagar. Straight to our top focus. After 2 rounds of a nationwide crackdown on the Popular Front of India on September 22nd and the 27th of September, the central government has now banned the PFI and all of its associates, affiliates and fronts for a period of 5 years under the UAPA or Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. The PFI has now been added to the list of 42 banned terrorist organizations under Section 35 of the UAPA. PFI's associate organizations include the All India Imam Council, the Rehab India Foundation and the National Women Front, among others. Beyond this, the MHA has also empowered state and union territory governments to take action against funding operations linked to the outfit and its affiliates. That's the big story that we're tracking at this hour. After 2 rounds of a pan-India crackdown, those pan-India raids that we saw, we finally seen a ban that has now come in for the Popular Front of India for a time period of 5 years. Before I bring in my colleagues for a discussion of what this really means and what is the kind of political war of words that this has resulted into, let's listen in to some reactions first.
This is a very, very welcoming move. I'd like to express our gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Home Minister Amit Shah for this bold action.
बहुत ही स्वागत योग्य कदम है। केंद्रीय गृह मंत्रालय ने बहुत अच्छा निर्णय लिया है और पूरे प्रदेश और देश में बहुत ही खुशी की लहर है। जिस ढंग से गैर सामाजिक, गैर कानूनी गतिविधियों में संलिप्तता पाई जा रही थी, PFI पर रोक लगाना बहुत आवश्यक था। इन लोगों ने प्रदेश और देश के अमन चैन को डिस्टर्ब करने का कुत्सित प्रयास किया था, गैर कानूनी गतिविधियों में संलिप्त थे और इनके नेटवर्क को पूरी तरह से ध्वस्त कर देना ये हम लोगों का प्रथम कर्तव्य है।
It was a long time demand by the people of this country, by all political parties, including opposition like CPI, CPM and Congress. PFI is a
avatar of Simi, KFD.
PFI संगठन जो है, ये जो पॉपुलेशन फ्रंट ऑफ इंडिया, ये जो पाकिस्तान जिंदाबाद के नारे लगाते हैं, उनको इस देश में ऐसे नारे लगाने का कोई अधिकार नहीं है। यह गृह विभाग पूरी तरह उनका बंदोबस्त करेगी और केंद्र सरकार ने जो निर्णय लिया है, योग्य निर्णय लिया है, इस देश में देशभक्तों का ये देश है, ये राज्य है, राष्ट्रभक्तों का है। यह देशद्रोही बयान किसी पर कोई कर नहीं सकता है और वो साइन भी नहीं किया जाएगा।
Let me also now bring in my colleagues to take this discussion forward. We already have Anshul joining us on the broadcast. He's joining us from outside the PFI's office at Shaheen Bagh. We'll shortly be joined by Arunima, who's been tracking these developments for us as well. Anshul, let me come to you first. We saw pan-India raids not once but twice, which had once again raked up the debate that is this now the right time for this ban to come in to try and put a stop as far as the radicalization activities on the ground. Talk to our viewers about what has really led to this ban for a time period of 5 years.
So yes, the call for banning PFI is not a very new demand, but has been prevailing for a very long time. But this time around, the kind of case that the central government has been able to build against the PFI, it is going to be very difficult for the PFI to go ahead and challenge that in the courts, because we saw that the raids that happened on the 22nd of September, especially in this office right behind me, the PFI headquarters in the national capital, many incriminating documents were found from here. Not only documents in terms of paper, but also documents in terms of electronic evidences were also seized from here, which included mobile phones, laptops, cameras, and all of that is under evidence. Also, the kind of evidences that were found in that same raid from places like Bihar, where the document of the Mission 2047, where India should be converted into an Islamic state, and the entire playbook that was received from there. Also, the evidences that came to the fore, where the attack that happened in Gandhi Maidan during the Prime Minister's rally, and how PFI was involved in actually carrying out that serial bomb blast in Gandhi Maidan during the Prime Minister's rally in 2013. All these proofs have now been gathered by the NIA, and finally they have come out. The central agency, the central government has finally come out and now imposed this ban on the PFI for the next 5 years, which actually means that the case is absolutely rock solid, and hence the PFI since morning has not yet commented on the entire action and has not provided what they are going to do in the future, if they are actually going to move the courts, because the evidences that they have been, that the central government have been able to gather from these raids that happened on the 22nd and then on the 27th of September. Because remember, the raids that happened on the 22nd, senior workers of the PFI were arrested, but the raids that happened yesterday, the on-ground workers were arrested, and hence the back of PFI has now been broken by the central government. So it is very unlikely that PFI would be able to stand yet again on its feet. But yes, the central government is absolutely confident that whenever the hearing happens in the UAPA panel, they can actually defend this decision that has been taken by them. Because if they wanted to ban PFI, they have been in the power for last 8 years, and it could have been done at any point in time. But yes, the case that they have been able to
and look at what has actually led to this ban, Anshul. The secret agenda to actually radicalize society, to try and destabilize peace. Look at the kind of global links that have been traced to the Middle East and to Pakistan as well. But at this time, the other question that is also being raised is, okay, you've got a ban on the PFI for a period of 5 years, but what about outfits like the STPI? Because this was a similar concern when we saw a ban on Simi in 2001, that it could take another name, another shape and form as well. What is the guarantee that after this ban, it will be the end as far as these activities are concerned?
So yes, the government is absolutely sure that the kind of situation that developed in 2002 after Simi was banned in India, that kind of situation doesn't arise, because the kind of arrest and activities that we have seen happening, they have already arrested the senior officials, they have arrested the on-ground workers, they have seized the accounts and everything of this organization. So it is going to be really tough for the PFI to get again to change their names, because all the senior leaders have been arrested. The on-ground workers who actually had some say amongst the workers have also been taken into custody. So yes, it is going to take a long time for them to actually come up with the name and actually gather that force of workers that actually needs to be gathered to run a very big organization like the PFI. So yes, the central government has made it absolutely sure that the back of PFI is broken this time around, and they are not able to stand on their feet yet again, and that is the reason why we saw those surprise raids that happened. I remember the raids that happened yesterday. We also got to know that even the raiding parties didn't know till early morning that they had to go on a raid. So it was all done in a very secret manner, and hence the PFI hasn't got a time to respond to all this.
Okay, Anshul, I just request you to stay on with us. We'll continue the conversation in just a bit. Just for the benefit of our viewers, we want to now break down the details in terms of what really has led to this ban, and more importantly, what does this ban mean for the PFI as far as the time period of 5 years is concerned. But what really has actually led to this ban? What were the red flags? What were the concern points? The first is a secret agenda to radicalize the society. Remember, we had seen 2 sets of pan-India raids as far as PFI is concerned, and post that we were also picking up details that possibly they could now be indulging in a revenge plot as well. The second is linked to terror groups like the ISIS to try and destabilize peace as far as the country is concerned. The third has potential to disturb peace, as I was pointing out. More importantly, what is also important to note here is that there is enough evidence to prove that the PFI is indulged in illegal activities. More importantly, also what we need to focus on is that there is a prejudicial to security of India. It is a matter of national interest. So now you've got a ban as far as a time period of 5 years is concerned. Many also now pointing out actually what really has led to the delay as far as this ban is concerned. And more importantly, as I was discussing with Anshul a short while ago, that what happens to outfits like the STPI? Why aren't we seeing any sort of action on them? I believe my colleague Arunima is now joining us on the broadcast. Arunima, those 2 important questions for you. One, many raising the question as to why the delay, because as far as concerns around the PFI concerned, they're not new, they've been there for years. And more importantly, what happens to outfits like the STPI? With Simi also, the concern was that you saw it a new set of regrouping, the name and form changed, but the activities didn't stop.
So to answer your first question first, let me share with you what former Home Secretaries told me. What they said was that earlier too, in the last 10 years or so, repeatedly this file has reached their tables seeking ban on the Popular Front of India. However, like we have been telling our viewers, banning is just step 1. The main test comes when you go before the tribunal. You have to defend your evidence. And one former Home Secretary in fact told me that it is difficult to pin it down to PFI. Why is it so? You might convict somebody or have enough evidence to say that person A murdered person B, but how do you make that link between person A and organization X? That linkage was getting difficult because there was no membership form that PFI was getting filled up. There was no record of membership fees, etc. that were kept. So that linkage, to pin it down, it took time. B, they said that, and this is what former police officials and current police officials in various parts of the country who are dealing with PFI are telling me, that it is getting difficult because you need solid evidence, and that evidence came only in 4 cases specifically, 1 in Assam, 1 in Islamabad of Telangana, and 2 in Kerala. And once that evidence came up, once that linkages was clear between the people who were carrying out these crimes and the organization per se, that's when Government of India moved in. They took their time, collected the evidence, and finally when they felt that the evidence was rock solid, they moved in. Those countrywide crackdowns were carried out, and based on that and interrogation of the PFI leadership and additional evidence that they had captured earlier, the decision to bring in the notification under Section 3 of UAPA was taken. Section 3 of UAPA essentially means you are declared an unlawful organization. Whatever you have said while registering yourself as a society, your activities are different from that. So therefore, you are declared unlawful. To answer your question about SDPI, what we are being told is that the first step will have to be taken by the Election Commission of India to take action against SDPI, since it's registered as a political party. It is the political wing of Popular Front of India. Once that happens, if there is more evidence, perhaps a call will be taken whether SDPI deserves to join that list of all PFI affiliates which are now unlawful organizations.
Okay, I'll just request my colleagues to stay on with us, both Arunima and Anshul. We also now want to talk to our viewers in terms of what this ban actually means for members of the PFI and the PFI at large. Let's break down all those details. As we said, you've seen a ban come in under the UAP and the timeline is for 5 years. First is the membership is criminalized. Every member will now be seen under this lens. Forfeit of property, that of course will come in as well. Can't organize protests. Again, that right has also now been taken away considering this ban has come in. Seminars, donations, all of that also now has been banned. The route of funding also now has been stopped. No more publications as well for the PFI and its members. As I was pointing out, you also have not just property, but bank accounts that have now been frozen as well. Properties, offices, they've all now been attached as well. As Arunima was also pointing out, agencies for years have been collecting evidence and they've gone by the books, and that is why it's probably taken a bit to come as far as this ban is concerned. There is also now travel curbs on office bearers and members as far as the PFI is concerned. So this is what the ban essentially means for the Popular Front of India and its members. I'll request my colleagues to stay on with us. Some other details also now coming in. And this is a CNN News 18 exclusive. Top intelligence sources are now telling us that all social media handles of the Popular Front of India will also be disabled very, very soon. Agencies are in the process of writing a letter to the Ministry of Information and Technology to take action against all the social media handles. Agencies are also writing to banks to freeze all accounts of PFI and associated organizations. Centre has also asked state governments to take possession and seal properties of the PFI and its associates as well. So what we are now understanding is that we could see an impact as far as the social handles of the Popular Front of India very, very soon. There is a certain process. You'll have to write to the Information or Broadcast and Technology, and then possibly we could see that action very soon as well. Let me also now bring in our guest to take this discussion forward. We have Savio Rodriguez, founder and editor-in-chief, Goa Chronicles. We also have Suman C. Raman, political analyst. Good to have both of you on the broadcast with us. Suman, let me begin the discussion with you. How do you see the ban?
Well, I think it was predicted. I think this is no surprise. At least for the last 3 to 4 years, there have been multiple calls for a ban on PFI. And I think they were given a long rope by this government because we did know that in states like Kerala and Karnataka, there have been demands for a ban. And, nothing happened to the point where people was asking whether the government was, whether the ruling party at the center was using the PFI as a kind of a, punching bag on whom they could blame all the issues that arose in communally sensitive places. But I think that now that the government has acted, I believe that it is probably because of the evidence that was unearthed in the recently conducted raids. So obviously they must have got something which gives them enough evidence to actually push through a ban. Now the interesting part is what happens to SDPI. SDPI is a recognized political party by the Election Commission of India. Now it is a frontal organization of the PFI. Now whether SDPI loses its registration with the Election Commission or recognition that the Election Commission has given, and also, what they could do is to morph into something else. As we saw, Simi morphed into the PFI, and the PFI can then morph into something else, and so could the SDPI. So the government has to continue its vigil. So that's, it doesn't mean that just issuing a ban on PFI means that the problem related to the violence and other issues is resolved. But the question of what happens to their political outfit is the thing that we really need to wait and see. Does the ban automatically extend to them? Will they lose? Because there are places where they do get a sizable chunk of vote as well.
Yeah.
So I think that
no, but that's a call. I think we'll have to still wait and see as far as the final print of what comes out from the Election Commission as well. But that's a valid concern that Sumant is raising. So, Savio, do you agree with the concern that is being raised by Sumant that yes, this ban was needed, it was long time coming, But what about the political outfit? What about the possibility that it could take another shape and form?
Well, first to answer the question on the political outfit, I think the Election Commission of India and the Indian government will be looking into that aspect pretty closely and very soon. That's number one. Number two is, yes, there was an organization called SEMI and it was disbarred and banned in 2000 earlier. However, what never happened at that point of time was the clinical dismantling of the organization in a methodological manner. And what you've seen being done by the Indian intelligence agencies over the last several years is the collation of data and the understanding of the international links to terror organizations that PFI has had over a period of time. Now, PFI has always been on the radar. They were mostly seen in the southern states, and which is why you had a couple of violent activities linked to the PFI in states like Kerala and Karnataka, but they never spread their wings. About 7-8 years ago. It was in the last 4-5 years that they actually spread their wings into other parts of India, almost 22 states across India. And that's where they started working in radicalizing the Muslim men and the Muslim youth to try and create a fear psychosis in the minds of the people that the Indian government is against Muslims.
Correct.
The whole idea of PFI is destabilization of India and working towards ensuring that the Islamic Caliphate is installed in India. So that was a plan which they had right up till 2047. They wanted to convert India into an Islamic nation. Now, it's important to understand the links that have come out through the intelligence agencies of the PFI.
Sure.
They've been linked to ISIS, they've been linked to Al-Qaeda, they've been linked to the Hamas, they've been also linked to the Pakistan ISI. More importantly, it's the terror sympathizing NGOs that they were connected with. If you remember in 2020, you had very senior leaders of the PFI meet with IHH, which is a Turkish NGO that is known world over to have links with terror organizations like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. They have even funded the Hamas for activities as far as operations in Syria is concerned.
Correct.
So I think we need
despite
to look at
all the points that you're making, Savio, and despite all the evidence, as you rightly pointed out, and the ones that I put out when we started the show, there is still a lobby that continues to defend this radicalization that is so prevalent on the ground. I'll just request both of you to stay on with us. We also want to talk to you about the political aspect as far as this ban is concerned. In the backdrop of the ban, a political war of words is also now taking place. Aswaduddin Owaisi of the MIM has lashed out at the centre's decision, saying it will lead to every Muslim youth being arrested under the UAPA. He's also stated that he's always opposed the PFI's extreme and radical approach. The BJP has hit out at the Congress, RJD and left governments for being sympathizers of the radical outfit. Congress and others are calling for a ban on the RSS as well, saying it also spreads communal hatred.
PFI राष्ट्रद्रोही, संविधान विरोधी, मानवता विरोधी, हिंसा का संगठन है। उस पर प्रतिबंध लगाना यह एक बहुत बड़ी मांग थी जो पूरी की भारत सरकार का सारा देश समर्थन करता है और वह आगे ऐसी गतिविधियां सिर ना उठा सकें, उनको पूरी ताकत के साथ सबक सिखाए और ऐसा सबक सिखाए ताकि यह आतंकवाद और देशद्रोह सदा सदा के लिए भारत की धरती से मिट जाए।
While I have always opposed PFI's extreme and radical approach, I have always supported democratic approach. This ban on PFI cannot be supported because actions of some individuals who commit crime does not mean that the organization itself must be banned. Supreme Court has also held that mere association with an organization is not enough to convict someone. The way Indian electoral authority is approaching fascism, every Muslim youth will now be arrested with a PFI pamphlet under India's black law UAPA. How come PFI is banned but organizations associated with convicts of Khaja Ajmeri bomb blast are not? Why has government not banned right-wing majoritarian organizations?
Let me continue the conversation with my guests. Savio and Suman Raman continue to be with us. Suman, do you buy the argument that the likes of Owaisi and others are making that, okay, you've banned the PFI, but what about outfits like the RSS that continue to push the, Hindu narrative or the Hindu Rashtra narrative? So is it really fair because you're just targeting one particular community? Is that even a fair argument?
Look, I don't think that the ban on PFI is for hate speech or spreading hatred. I think it is for specific violent activities that have been linked to the group.
Correct. So how is it becoming so difficult for us to see that difference?
Most importantly, the overseas connections, with the terrorist organizations and so on around the world. So I don't see the equivalence of, bringing in immediately the Hindu right-wing groups. Yes, Hindu right-wing groups have been involved in, propagation of whether it is fake news or whether it is hate speech, and we have seen that over a period of time. But I think we need to keep in mind that the threat to the unity and integrity of India, I don't think that the right-wing groups on the Hindu side ever represented any kind of a threat. Yes, action has to be taken against the individuals in those groups who have been, propagating hate speeches and so on. But as far as PFI is concerned, let's face it, for the last 4 or 5 years, we've all been on at least, two or three dozen debates on where should the government ban PFI? Why is the government not banning PFI? So this was something that was coming, and I think to be fair to the government, they have done a lot of homework. I mean, they've launched this huge, crackdown on the group over spanning multiple states, and they've taken into custody.
This is a classic case of damn if you do, damn if you don't. If they went ahead with the ban too early, then, the usual lobby would have gotten up in arms and said that there's not enough evidence. This is again, targeting of a particular community. If you've gone by the book, taken your time, gotten a lot of evidence together, even then you have the lobby saying this is targeting of a particular community.
You can see even Owaisi was a little guarded. He said, I am against their extreme, actions and so on.
But that becomes very convenient, no, Suman? And Savio, this is where I want to bring you in. Like, when you're talking about issues of national security, you have to call a spade a spade. For how long can you continue to sit on the fence?
Well, it's absolutely sad because I see organizations, political parties like Congress and Oasis party, trying to give a little bit of cover to the PFI and drag in the RSS and Hindu right-wing organizations. And I think it's ludicrous. I'll tell you why. Because the most important thing for us to understand is the issue is not about religion. The issue is about an organization that was working towards radicalization of the Muslim youths. Now, there are many Indian Muslims in India who contribute to nation building and have got nothing to do with radicalization. This is an anti-India attempt, and it is it's an attempt to destabilize India. So it's a national security issue. The Congress and opposition parties trying to give it a communal color is sad because at the end of the day, an Indian Muslim, where you're going to create a fear in the Indian Muslims saying that it's the BJP government targeting a Muslim organization. No, the BJP government is targeting a terror-linked organization. That is as simple as that. So the Indian Muslims should never be afraid of living in India because India is as much as its land as a Hindu and a Christian. Right? So PFI worked. PFI has been working and radicalizing the young Indian Muslim youth. If you remember, in a rally that they had some years back, where a young child was talking about how they should kill the Hindus and the Christians. That's radicalization. That's hate. And I don't think the Indian Muslim is about hate. I think the Indian Muslim is somebody that's very much a part of the Indian secular fabric. So PFI is a terror organization.
Okay, Suman, 10 seconds, quickly.
Yeah, to be fair, I don't think major opposition parties have provided any kind of cover for the PFI now. And I want to place that on record. I don't think officially, whether it is the Congress party or any of the major opposition parties, the senior leadership has not come out in support of the PFI or against the ban. So I think that we have to say that there is some level of consensus. Yes, I mean, you could always have the odd, junior leader shooting his mouth off on these issues. But from the senior leadership of most of the political parties, there has been either, an acceptance of the ban
Sure.
or studied silence, meaning that they don't want to actually come out in support of the PFI. So I think that there is some level of political consensus that this ban was probably necessary at this stage.
Okay. Sumant and Savio, unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. Appreciate both of you taking our time and joining us here on the broadcast. We'll keep tracking all these developments and much more. For now, we're slipping into a very short break.
Protests happen over there. There was public interest. That should not happen on the streets of national capital, and that is the prime focus of the agencies as of now, and that is the reason why we are seeing all preventive measures being taken in the national capital just to make sure that no untoward situation arises, no sloganeering or no marches are being allowed to carried out to support the PFI as of now, Toya.
Anshul, I'd like if you could shed more of the light now on the community reactions that we've seen since yesterday. I think you were right now touching on information that we've received that a few of the people arrested yesterday were Delhi University students. But apart from that, I also believe that there were people who were considered the face of the Shaheen Bagh protest against the CAA NRC from a few years ago that were also picked up during this round of arrests. Is that accurate?
So yes, many workers of the PFI were actually at the forefront of the Shaheen Bagh protest that happened during when the CA was actually passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So yes, there were workers of the PFI that were actually involved and were actually at the forefront of carrying out that entire protest. And that is the reason why we saw that the people who were arrested over the last 2 raids that happened over the last 1 week, they could actually have some involvement in that protest as well, because PFI was one of the organizations that was at the absolute forefront of it. So yes, there are people who were actually involved in this and have been arrested by the Delhi police. However, people from affiliate organizations like the SDFI have also been arrested by the police yesterday, is what we are being told. But yes, SDPI has still not been banned by the government in this notification that has been issued. So that is a big question, why SDPI, which is an affiliate organization of the PFI, why has that not been banned, and what is the future course of action that the government is actually thinking to take against them. So yes, people from across PFI, because remember the raids that happened on the 22nd of September, the leaders and the stakeholders of the PFI were arrested, and the raids that happened yesterday, the on-ground workers were arrested because it was told that they were getting messages to carry out protests in a certain manner that would actually create unrest in this entire country, and that is why they were arrested. And not only they were arrested, but more than 30 electronic devices, which included mobile phones, laptops, cameras, that were also seized by the special cell in the raids that were conducted yesterday, and that they are investigating on those devices as well, just to try to make sure a timeline of how the PFI was actually trying to make sure that there is massive unrest in the country after the kind of raids and the senior leaders of the PFI who were arrested by the NIA on 22nd of November. So yes, many people 22nd of September, I beg your pardon. So yes, many such incidents have already happened, and the Delhi administration is absolutely making sure that no situation is allowed to go out of hand, and hence preventive measures are already being taken. But as of now, since the ban on PFI has happened, there is no reaction that has come from the PFI or any of its affiliate organizations. But yes, it remains to be seen what is the future course of action that they are going to take, because one thing is for certain, that they are not going to take this sitting down. They might approach the courts in this entire matter. But yes, the kind of evidences that the government has now gathered against them, because remember we saw that the offices of PFI that were raided, many incriminating documents were collected from offices of PFI across the country, be it the 2047 document which promised to make India an Islamic state, or the evidences of attack on Prime Minister Modi. All this have been already gathered, and a very strong and concrete case has already been built by the central government against the PFI. So yes, it remains to be seen how does PFI now respond to this, and what are the options that they have with them. So yes,
okay, Anshul, just stay with us for a second. I want to walk our audiences through right now on the screen behind us the reasons that the central government and the Ministry of Home Affairs in particular claim for banning the PFI. Remember, this is an action that was largely expected over the last few days. Yesterday, you saw the second round of raids across the entire country. And it was right from the first round of raids last week on Thursday that experts were already saying that the Popular Front of India was likely to be banned. Now, when it comes to the allegations that you have the Ministry of Home Affairs making, the first is that they argue that the PFI's agenda was to radicalize society. Now, the PFI claims that instead their job was to defend minorities. They came up in the 2000s as an organization in South India. They were actually formed after 3 different South Indian organizations across the states in the South, Karnataka, Kerala, etc. They came together and then formed the PFI. Now, reason number 2 that, again, the MHA gives for banning the PFI, the Popular Front of India, is they say that the PFI is linked to terror groups like ISIS. Reason number 3 that they give, I'll just wait for a second, is they argue that it has the potential to disturb peace. Here they point to different moments. For example, the Karnataka hijab movement that we saw earlier this year, where you had a number of young girls come forward and say that they don't want to wear they want to wear their hijabs in classrooms. To that, as you can remember, you had a lot of people saying that the PFI was involved, the PFI student wing was involved in those.
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. We're getting some news coming in from the world of crypto. We're now understanding the Enforcement Directorate has frozen cryptocurrencies worth over 12 crore under the provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act amid an investigation into a mobile gaming application called eNuggets. Suspect Amir Khan and others launched the application to defraud users. The collected funds were then transferred overseas via various crypto exchanges like WazirX and Binance. Earlier, over 17 crore was seized during searches at the premises of this man, Amir Khan. My colleague Ashish Merishi has been tracking all these developments for us, now joining us on the broadcast. So Ashish, I just want to understand, we're understanding ED has frozen crypto over 12 crore under the provisions of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So this 12 crore of crypto, is it now being traced back to just one particular exchange or multiple exchanges?
So, we all know that eNuggets was basically a scam. It was basically an app that turned into a scam after, a lot of people invested a lot of money into it, and ultimately, when a time came when, people were not able to withdraw money on one pretext or the other. Finally, the Enforcement Directorate raided, and if you remember, around 17 crore rupees of cash was found in West Bengal, in Kolkata. Finally, now when you remember that Amir Khan was arrested from Ghaziabad, and during investigation, the Enforcement Directorate found that basically he was transferring the proceeds of crime to various countries through many crypto exchanges. So he opened one fake account in WazirX, where we all know that crypto exchanges are running without any regulator, and thus no KYC was done. So there was a fake account that he made, and in that account money was transferred, and further from one crypto exchange to another crypto exchange, then it went to the Binance, and ultimately the Enforcement Directorate finally basically found the proceeds of crime in these crypto exchanges, and now in the form of crypto exchange of around 12 crore rupees, this stands attached by the Enforcement Directorate.
Ashish, I quickly also want to understand, for the benefit of our viewers and many who would actually be part of the crypto world or would have invested as well, what was the modus operandi that this man used to scam these people?
You need to invest some money to gain some money. So he was basically promising higher returns when you invest some money into that gaming app. And ultimately, when a time came when he stopped returning the money on one pretext or the other, and he basically started transferring that money through crypto exchanges to different parts of the world. So he realized that he has basically committed a scam, and to hide the proceeds of crime, he was sending this money through various crypto exchanges to various destinations abroad. So now, ultimately, the Enforcement Directorate has been able to basically track down some proceeds of crime, which include the crypto exchange, the money in the crypto exchange, around 12 crore rupees as of now.
17 crore rupees as of now. 17 crore rupees in cash has been seized, and
Okay, Ashish, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. Time for us to slip into a very short break, but before we do that, do not forget to vote for your favorite sports person, the athlete you feel deserves to be Indian of the Year for sports. All you need to do is log on to indianoftheyear.com and cast your vote. Nominees on your screen.
That were also picked up during this round of arrests. Is that accurate?
So yes, many workers of the PFI were actually at the forefront of the Shaheen Bagh protest that happened during when the CA was actually passed by the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. So yes, there were workers of the PFI that were actually involved and were actually at the forefront of carrying out that entire protest. And that is the reason why we saw that the people who were arrested over the last 2 raids that happened over the last 1 week, they could actually have some involvement in that protest as well, because PFI was one of the organizations that was at the absolute forefront of it. So yes, there are people who were actually involved in this and have been arrested by the Delhi police. However, people from affiliate organizations like the SDFI have also been arrested by the police yesterday, is what we are being told. But yes, SDPI has still not been banned by the government in this notification that has been issued. So that is a big question, why SDPI, which is an affiliate organization of the PFI, why has that not been banned, and what is the future course of action that the government is actually thinking to take against them. So yes, people from across PFI, because remember the raids that happened on the 22nd of September, the leaders and the stakeholders of the PFI were arrested, and the raids that happened yesterday, the on-ground workers were arrested because it was told that they were getting messages to carry out protests in a certain manner that would actually create unrest in this entire country, and that is why they were arrested. And not only they were arrested, but more than 30 electronic devices, which included mobile phones, laptops, cameras, that were also seized by the special cell in the raids that were conducted yesterday, and that they are investigating on those devices as well, just to try to make sure a timeline of how the PFI was actually trying to make sure that there is massive unrest in the country after the kind of raids and the senior leaders of the PFI who were arrested by the NIA on 22nd of November. So yes, many people 22nd of September, I beg your pardon. So yes, many such incidents have already happened, and the Delhi administration is absolutely making sure that no situation is allowed to go out of hand, and hence preventive measures are already being taken. But as of now, since the ban on PFI has happened, there is no reaction that has come from the PFI or any of its affiliate organizations. But yes, it remains to be seen what is the future course of action that they are going to take, because one thing is for certain, that they are not going to take this sitting down. They might approach the courts in this entire matter. But yes, the kind of evidences that the government has now gathered against them, because remember we saw that the offices of PFI that were raided, many incriminating documents were collected from offices of PFI across the country, be it the 2047 document which promised to make India an Islamic state, or the evidences of attack on Prime Minister Modi. All this have been already gathered, and a very strong and concrete case has already been built by the central government against the PFI. So yes, it remains to be seen how does PFI now respond to this, and what are the options that they have with them. So yes,
okay, Anshul, just stay with us for a second. I want to walk our audiences through right now on the screen behind us the reasons that the central government and the Ministry of Home Affairs in particular claim for banning the PFI. Remember, this is an action that was largely expected over the last few days. Yesterday, you saw the second round of raids across the entire country. And it was right from the first round of raids last week on Thursday that experts were already saying that the Popular Front of India was likely to be banned. Now, when it comes to the allegations that you have the Ministry of Home Affairs making, the first is that they argue that the PFI's agenda was to radicalize society. Now, the PFI claims that instead their job was to defend minorities. They came up in the 2000s as an organization in South India. They were actually formed after 3 different South Indian organizations across the states in the South, Karnataka, Kerala, etc. They came together and then formed the PFI. Now, reason number 2 that, again, the MHA gives for banning the PFI, the Popular Front of India, is they say that the PFI is linked to terror groups like ISIS. Reason number 3, that they give, I'll just wait for a second, is they argue that it has the potential to disturb peace. Here they point to different moments. For example, the Karnataka hijab movement that we saw earlier this year, where you had a number of young girls come forward and say that they don't want to wear they want to wear their hijabs in classrooms. To that, as you can remember, you had a lot of people saying that the PFI was involved, the PFI student wing was involved in those protests, and that was given as a reason for proof that the PFI was actually fomenting trouble. Reason number 4, the argument that the government makes that the PFI has indulged in illegal activities. And we're going to move to reason number 5. They argue that the security of India is under threat because of the PFI. Now, remember, again, the PFI on its hand continues to argue that they are simply an organization that stands to defend the rights of minorities. We're going to move very quickly now to Anshul. Anshul is with us from Shaheen Bagh outside the PFI offices. Remember, yesterday you saw crackdowns across the country against the PFI, and one of the area of focuses was very much multiple parts of Delhi. Shaheen Bagh was in focus. Arrests took place there too. Anshul, tell us, yesterday in the arrests,
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. In the middle of the political turmoil in Rajasthan, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot will land in the national capital to meet Sonia Gandhi this evening. No action so far has been taken against Ashok Gehlot, while a show cause notices have been given and been issued to 3 Gehlot camp MLAs for the rebellion that we saw. They've been asked to explain why they held parallel meetings after skipping the meeting called by the central observers. Meanwhile, senior leader Vijay Singh has also now entered the Congress president's race and is all set to file his nomination papers tomorrow.
अशोक गहलोत जी खुद कांग्रेस के सीनियर लीडर हैं, राजस्थान के मुख्यमंत्री हैं, वो दिल्ली जाएंगे, लेकिन आप जिस तरह के कयास अफवाहें फैलाते हैं वैसा कुछ भी नहीं है, ठीक है। अभी राजस्थान के विधायकों की आवाज उठाना आपका काम है और वो काम वो करेंगे क्योंकि उन्होंने जबान दी थी। राजस्थान के 102 विधायकों को पूरा देश कांग्रेस की तरफ देख रहा है। कांग्रेस मजबूत है। कांग्रेस मोदी सरकार के जुल्म के खिलाफ राहुल गांधी जी के नेतृत्व में सोनिया गांधी जी के नेतृत्व में लड़ती रहेगी।
No drama is happening in Rajasthan. Everything will be clear within 1 or 2 days. This is you, the media people thinking that is a drama. Okay. Because at least you are discussing the president election of Indian National Congress. You cannot even discuss any president election of any other party in this country. Congress is doing democratic exercises. You are writing, you are criticizing, we are welcoming. We never stop the mouths of the people who are criticizing the Congress party.
न तो किसी विधायक को जबरदस्ती बुलाया गया, न किसी विधायक को रोका, न किसी विधायक को अंधेरे में रख के दस्तखत कराए गए, न किसी विधायक से जोर जबरदस्ती की गई। सबने स्वतः स्फूर्त हाथ खड़े करके अपनी एकजुटता प्रदर्शित की थी। अशोक गहलोत जी की बातों का फीडबैक किस रूप में गया इसमें तो मैं नहीं जानता, लेकिन एक बात निश्चित रूप से जानता हूँ, अशोक गहलोत जी के जीवन में अगर सबसे बड़ी कोई बात है तो वो सोनिया जी के आला कमान के प्रति जो निष्ठा है, उससे ऊंचा भाव उनके मन में किसी का भी नहीं है।
So post that rebellion that we've seen by Camp Gehlot, this meeting when Ashok Gehlot lands in the national capital will be very crucial to watch out for. He will be meeting Sonia Gandhi. Remember, we brought you details 48 hours ago how the top leadership, the Gandhis, were actually very disappointed with Ashok Gehlot with the kind of rebellion we had seen. But Ashok Gehlot had completely washed his hands away, saying that actually I was also unaware. The MLAs had stopped listening to me. So what can we actually expect as far as this meeting is concerned? Let me bring in my colleague Akash, who's been tracking all these developments for us. Akash, first things first, what time are we expecting Ashok Gehlot to land in the national capital?
So you see, Ridhima, a lot has been happening since morning. In fact, a lot has been happening in the back end. And at the forefront, we are given to understand that by late evening, at around 8 or 9, he can leave his residence and he is expected to leave for Delhi. Also, we are learning that, he'll be meeting party high command by late evening or by tomorrow. So this is very interesting and is coming after the show cause notice that has been issued for 3 of the MLAs. And also, till now, we were expecting that some sort of punishment would be given to Ashok Gehlot as well. But till now, this is not the case. So we are expecting that by late evening he'll be leaving. Also, let me mention this very fact that before this trip to Delhi, he had a meeting with all his MLAs. In fact, all those MLAs who are supposed to be, who are believed to be very close to Ashok Gehlot, and if I can name them, Mahesh Joshi, Pratap Singh Khachariawas, and others who are there. Also, we are given to understand that these MLAs somewhere, put forward their thoughts, and the very thought that they don't want anyone from those 19 MLAs as their next chief minister. And this is the reason why, in fact, just a few minutes back, while we were hearing, what Pratap Singh Khacharia was saying, so he said it very clear that as of now, he is not going to, trust anyone from 19 MLAs, and we are 102 MLAs, and Ashok Gehlot is our guardian, and, he'll be going to Delhi and he'll be representing, us 102 MLAs. So as of now, the latest development is that yes, within some time from now, he'll be leaving from here, and he's expected to meet party high command, specifically Sonia Gandhi, by late evening or by tomorrow.
Okay, Akash, before I talk to you about Digvijay Singh also now entering in the race. Okay, Akash, I'll just request you to stay on with us. Let's bring in our colleague and senior editor Pallavi also in the conversation. Pallavi, it's getting very interesting now. Now we at least have a contender opposite Shashi Tharoor. We're understanding Digvijay Singh has also now entered the race.
Yes, that's right. And we have been reporting this, that things are getting tough for Ashok Gehlot. At one point of time, we were talking about Gehlot versus Tharoor fight. But clearly, he's a man who's fallen from grace, though he's still awaiting an appointment with Mrs. Gandhi. People close to him are insisting that if he gets the nod from her, he's going to go ahead and file in his nomination papers. And actually, the timeline is only on 30th. It ends from at 3 p.m. on 30th. So it will be interesting to see whether he files the nomination papers. Among the many contenders, clearly the frontrunner now remains to be Digvijay Singh. And if indeed he files in his nomination papers, he would be seen as someone who has a tacit support of the Gandhis. The fact, I think the bigger story also remains the fact that from someone who was considered to be a clear favorite of the Gandhis, he seemed to have been now facing or fallen from grace to a certain extent. It was considered to be almost a clear fight as far as Ashok Gehlot goes. But I think the decision the top leadership is also making is that we need to have more and more contenders.
Pallavi and Akash, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. We'll keep tracking all these developments and much more. Time for us to slip into a very short break.
Mr. Dhaliwal, first up, congratulations to you and your entire team at the special cell, because you have perhaps been at the forefront of trying to bust this entire syndicate.
Can you please explain to me how such large parcels of land are coming to the Waqf when the owners of those land are saying we never donated this land?
Pulling out saffron flags from temples, and of course there is also from the other side allegations of people chanting Jai Shri Ram in Muslim neighborhoods. I mean, this is a very serious threat to the multiculturalism of Britain.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2014 came with a track record of governance. What is Rahul Gandhi coming with if you're trying to make that argument that presidentship and being the face of elections are two different ideas?
For example, the Karnataka hijab movement that we saw earlier this year, where you had a number of young girls come forward and say that they don't want to wear they want to wear their hijabs in classrooms. To that, as you can remember, you had a lot of people saying that the PFI was involved, the PFI student wing was involved in those protests, and that was given as a reason for proof that the PFI was actually fomenting trouble. Reason number 4, the argument that the government makes that the PFI has indulged in illegal activities. And we're going to move to reason number 5. They argue that the security of India is under threat because of the PFI. Now, remember, again, the PFI on its hand continues to argue that they are simply an organization that stands to defend the rights of minorities. We're going to move very quickly now to Anshul. Anshul is with us from Shaheen Bagh outside the PFI offices. Remember, yesterday you saw crackdowns across the country against the PFI, and one of the area of focuses was very much multiple parts of Delhi. Shaheen Bagh was in focus. Arrests took place there too. Anshul, tell us, yesterday in the arrests, you heard multiple accounts that one or two of those arrested were actually Delhi University students. What information can you give us there?
So yes, there were reports that some of the people that were arrested yesterday from the national capital, approximately 32 people were arrested from the entire national capital, from North Delhi to Northeast Delhi to Southeast Delhi as well. But yes, there were accounts that some of them were students. But yes, the kind of evidences that the police has provided definitely tells a lot that they were actually not involved in studying in those universities, and that is the reason why they were arrested by the police. Some of them were taken into preventive arrest as well by the special cell and by the Delhi police. Eventually, they were handed over to the NIA for further investigation. Currently, this morning, after the ban has been imposed on the PFI, just a few minutes ago, a team of police officials from the local police station of Shaheen Bagh have arrived out here at the PFI office. Now, remember, this office was actually sealed by the NIA on the 22nd of September when the initial raids happened, in which approximately 147 people were arrested from across the country. All these were senior leaders of the PFI, and yesterday the workers, on-ground workers of the PFI were arrested. Now a team of police officials have arrived over here just to make sure that no untoward situation arises over here, because PFI, this is the only office of PFI in the national capital, and this could be said as one of the headquarters of the PFI, and they actually have a kind of support on ground, especially in this area like Shaheen Bagh, where people actually say that people from the PFI have actually helped them on many occasions, be it for education or whatever. So yes, they have kind of a support over here, and just to make sure that no untoward situation arises, because yes, there will be public sentiment, there will be people who will be raising their voice against this ban on PFI, and that is the reason why the administration is taking absolutely every preventive step that could be taken just to make sure that no law and order situation arises, and if at all it arises, it could be contained at the earliest. And that is the reason why local police officials have already arrived over here. They are making sure that no one is allowed to gather in this area to carry out any sort of protest, because remember, this entire area has Section 144 has been imposed in this entire area approximately 10 days ago, and for the next 2 months that is going to continue as well. So yes, the police and the administration is already taking all the preventive steps that it can take just to make sure that a situation like Kerala that we saw happening on the 23rd of September or on the evening of 22nd September, where massive protests happen over there, there was public unrest, that should not happen on the streets of national capital, and that is the prime focus of the agencies as of now, and that is the reason why we are seeing all preventive measures being taken in the
Welcome back. Thanks a lot for staying with us. Trouble is only mounting for the Aam Aadmi Party with each passing day. Today, Vijay Nair, a close associate of Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia, who was arrested by the CBI in connection with the liquor policy scam, has now been sent to a 5-day CBI custody. Remember, Vijay Nair is one of the 15 named in the CBI's FAR. He is said to have been actively involved in the framing and implementation of the excise policy in question. Liquor merchant Sameer Mahindru has also been arrested. Mahindru, remember, is the managing director of Indo Spirits.
मेरे को एक्चुअली ये समझ नहीं आ रहा कि उनको किस लिए गिरफ्तार किया गया है। वो एक छोटा सा कार्यकर्ता है हमारा, सोशल मीडिया संभालता है, कम्युनिकेशन संभालता है। पहले उसने पंजाब का कम्युनिकेशन संभाला, पंजाब हम लोग जीत गए। फिर आजकल वो गुजरात का कम्युनिकेशन देख रहा था, गुजरात का सोशल मीडिया देख रहा था। सो उसको गिरफ्तार कर लिया कि वो शराब, दिल्ली के कोई शराब घोटाले में शामिल है। उसका दूर दूर तक उससे कोई लेना देना नहीं है। सो उसे क्यों गिरफ्तार किया गया? वो पिछले 4-5 दिन से उसको बुला भी रहे थे और कह रहे थे ज़बरदस्ती मनीष सिसोदिया जी का नाम लो, मनीष सिसोदिया जी का नाम लो। अब मनीष सिसोदिया जी के घर इन्होंने रेड कर ली, उसमें कुछ नहीं मिला।
CNN News 18 has now accessed the order copy, which has gone on to say that Vijay Nair was non-cooperative. Vijay Nair's custody necessary for unearthing larger conspiracy. Vijay Nair's role necessary to unearth the role of each accused including other public servants as well. My colleague Ananya Bhatnagar has accessed this order copy exclusively for us. Talk to us about the evidence that the agencies are working with, Ananya, that they feel that they have against Vijay Nair.
Well, remember when Vijay Nair was actually produced before the court, it was said that almost 5 cell phones have been recovered from him, and almost all of them have a lot of crucial data that has been recovered. And importantly, out of which the 2 phones which have been seized by the Central Bureau of Investigation, he had actually formatted those phones, though the counter argument that was given out by his legal team, which was headed by senior advocate Rebecca John, clearly said that these phones were given to some of Vijay's friends, and that's the reason why these phones were formatted. But then the CBI alleges that he has actually deleted crucial data from that phone, and importantly, he was using the Signal app, which is a highly encrypted app, to communicate about the same, and various chats have also been given out by the Central Bureau of Investigation. However, the same were actually kept before the judge and not read in open public, so we cannot divulge as to what was actually written in those messages. But then definitely the CBI says that it had conducted a lot of raids, and only after incriminating evidence was available to it, the said arrest has been made. And remember, Vijay Nair is not only one of the accused into this particular case. He's a former promoter of a very reputed media company called OML, which used to design social media campaigns. And currently also he is one of the communications head for the Aam Aadmi Party. He had in fact designed the whole social media campaigning for the Punjab elections, and now was working on the Gujarat elections as well. And his role has now come out into this particular case. The CBI has arrested him and had in fact sought a 7 days of police custody remand into this particular case. However, a 5 days was given out by the court of law. And remember that the court in its observation has clearly stated that in view of the totality of the facts and circumstances, the application filed by the CBI is allowed, and the accused is remanded to custody of the Central Bureau of Investigation for 5 days. In fact, it is also said the accused arrested in this case yesterday only, and though it is stated that he has joined investigation on 6 different days, but it is alleged that he is not cooperative and is avoided to give reasonable replies to the question put to him, and he had been giving evasive reply, is what the CBI had said to the court. And keeping in point that the investigation is at a very initial stage, at an nascent stage, the court has now sent him to 5 days of police custody remand.
Okay, Ananya, thanks a lot for getting us all those details. So 2 key arrests that have been made, trouble mounting for the Aam Aadmi Party. The Aam Aadmi Party saying this is a witch hunt, vendetta, politics. There's no real evidence to play around with. We'll really have to see how this plays out. Unfortunately, I've completely run out of time. Viewpoint with Zaka Jacob is up next.
Good evening, this is Viewpoint. I'm Zaka Jacob. The centre has finally banned the Popular Front of India, the PFI, a radical Islamist organisation whose members are wanted for cases from murder to radicalisation to spreading terror. Now, this ban comes after dozens of places across the length and breadth of India were raided over the last week, 10 days. More than 500 PFI leaders and workers were arrested. And in many of these instances, incriminating material has also been recovered from them. The PFI, on the other hand, claims that this is nothing but a pure witch hunt. The question is, why should there be any tolerance, even 0.1% tolerance, for radicalized views and actions that encourage terrorist activities? But first, the story so far.
After 2 rounds of intensive raids and more than 300 arrests, it finally happened. The centre banned the Popular Front of India and its associates for 5 years under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Listing the reasons behind the ban, the Home Ministry's notification stated that PFI is involved in several